name is Christy. I'm straight. This is going to be long, and you can probably tell that I'm reading. But I want to make this video because I think the story of my family may be useful to help people who use the It Gets Better project. I was born in 1980, the first of two girls to a young evangelical Christian couple who loved Jesus, the Bible, and church. We were raised in a culture where it was understood that part of the duty of a parent was to guide the spiritual lives of their children, and my parents enjoyed an active religious life. I did not know that we were strange. I didn't know that most dads watch sports on Sunday afternoons, not old movies, musicals in particular. I didn't realize that it was strange for Mommy to be dangerous, or even how to express that she was. But she was. She was a bully, and she enjoyed hurting people. To her, it was a sport. But she also felt that it was her responsibility as our mother to teach us how to survive in her world. She taught us skills like lying the same way you teach a child to tie their shoes. But Dad was wonderful. If he was around, he could keep her mellow. When she told him she didn't love him anymore, they divorced. I was 8 or 9. He moved just up the street and was still very close by. In some ways, it was the most wonderful thing to have another home without her, where she wasn't in charge and everyone could just relax. But about a year or so after Dad moved out, the beating started. She hit and kicked me as if she were defending herself against a grown man. At first she would cry and say that she was sorry, but I do not believe her now. Eventually she stopped even faking it and wouldn't even acknowledge that she had wailed on us at all. She is not well and in great need of healing. The worst year of my life was when I was 15. I was seriously considering suicide. I lived with my mother and my sister. My father lived just across town, not too far. I had lived with psychological abuse all of my life and physical abuse for far too long. My mother had dragged me from one shrink to another ever since my parents had separated, but she would often hog my appointments to give each shrink a sob story about how horrible her mother was, whom I adore. And shortly thereafter, we'd stop seeing that shrink. It wouldn't be until she had another particularly bad outburst that we'd start over with a new shrink. As crazy and horrible as she was still my mother. I did not want it to be her fault that I was so miserable. I wanted us to be close and a happy family. It seems hideously naive now, but that was 17 years ago. Most of you probably weren't even born yet, but I digress. I confided in my mother that I was suicidal. Hopeless would be a step up. To say that I was empty implied that there was at least some sort of container that had the potential to be filled, but I was nothing. I didn't feel anything. At first she cried and told me that she loved me and that she would make phone calls the next day to find yet another shrink. 2 weeks later, I asked her about it, and she backhanded me across the face, accusing me of nagging her. Every day became a battle to survive both my mother and my own desire for it to all be over. And then Keturah died. We had been in 3 different choirs together in 4 years. We were both rather standoffish and, bitchy, and didn't really talk to each other all that much. But we got along fine and made music together 7 times a week in an average week. And we both had musical ambitions for our future. Keturah was supposed to be at an after-school choir rehearsal when she went home and shot herself in the head. In a very logical sense, I do not know why she did it. But I do know how it feels to long for the relief that death may very well bring. I was angry at myself that I did not know, that I did not see the signs. For Christ's sake, we were both in the same place. But now she was gone, and I saw how the community around her reacted. Even your mailman will weep for you if he hears about your suicide. You have no idea how many lives you touch. Who thinks that you're precious simply because you live? Once Katora died, I knew rationally that I could not take my own life because I could not do that to my father or my sister or my mailman. But I was still wishing I was empty because empty was better than nothing. At some point during this year, it's all a blur now, Dad came out to my sister and me, while the three of us were eating dinner one night. My sister triumphantly yelled, "I knew it!" I wish I could say that I took it so well, but I had a hard time with it at first. I was a pretty religious kid, and I was struggling with my own internal crisis, and now this. But there had been a rift between my father and I. I kind of thought that it was because I was a teenager and getting older, but the more time passed after he came out, the closer we got to be again. I realized that the wall between us had been his secret and not me. And now I had my dad back. Besides, parents and offspring don't think about each other having sex. This simply explains decorating, musicals, and lack of sports. Finding that closeness with my dad again was one of the things that saved my life that year. The summer that I was 16, I moved in with my father and never lived with my mother again. When I was 19, it finally happened that I could not have my mother in my life at all. It made me physically ill. Dad came home one evening to find me on the bathroom floor in tears. He helped me to my bed and listened to me and even cried a little with me, but we don't usually mention these things. He knew that I would if I could, but that I just couldn't have her in my life anymore. He assured me that it was okay, that I was doing the right thing, and that he was with me on this. And he always has been. Now, I am 32. I have a beautiful apartment, a dog, 2 cats, a ton of books, several musical instruments, a Bachelor of Arts degree in music, and a rock and roll band called Whiskey Christy and the Half Pint Orchestra, which you can find on YouTube and Facebook. I'm still very involved in the Quaker meeting I was a part of as a child. I even like the restaurant where I wait tables. But most importantly, I live in peace. I live in peace. It's a strange luxury, and I'm still getting used to it. But I live in peace. I am proof. If you are living with a bully for a parent, it gets better. And if you want to be a mom or a dad someday, you can do that. There are kids not even born yet who will need your love. So don't give up, and good luck.